Standing here with Oleksandra Ustinova. She's a member of the Ukrainian parliament. Thank you so much for this interview with DW, Oleksandra Ustinova.
Thank you so much.
Tell us, what is your country after 2 years of war? What are you missing most? What kind of support from the Western countries?
Well, unfortunately, the support is not growing; it's declining, and that's what we see. We see the United States, unfortunately, not being able to pass a supplemental for the last 5 months, and it is difficult for us to make it without the United States support. We ran out of ammunition already, and we've been using mortars to basically replace the artillery shells. We've been using the handmade drones to replace the artillery shells, but that's not how you win the war. And unfortunately, it's not even how you sustain the war. And we see that the biggest problem, I think not only the United States, but Germany and other European countries ran into, the defense sector, the defense industry was designed for the peaceful period. It is not designed for the war. And unfortunately, the production lines cannot be ramped up really fast. So we used all of the stocks that were available in Europe, in other countries, in the United States, and right now there is nothing to provide. And we do hope that Europeans especially will step up more, that the United States will pass a supplemental, because we do need those money to buy stuff, to buy weapons, to buy munition. And the critical thing is the air defense. Unfortunately, we are running out of interceptors. If we do not have interceptors, the missile for the air defense, if we run out of those, our cities will be totally destroyed. Kyiv will look like Aleppo if we don't have any more missiles coming, and it doesn't seem to be coming, unfortunately.
Losing Avdiivka is that one of the signs of how it could look like if you don't get more support from the Western countries?
Avdiivka is the first step, what Ukraine is going to look like, because after Avdiivka it's going to be Kupiansk, and unfortunately the next is Kharkiv. And Kharkiv is the second largest city in Ukraine, with more than 1 million people living there. It had been heavily shelled recently, and we understand that if we do lose Kupiansk, which is a big railway hub also, unfortunately we have very high chances to lose Kharkiv. And again, if there is no more support coming, if there is no munition coming, and if we do not receive long-range missiles, if we do not have F-16s, the promised F-16s this summer, unfortunately we're going to have a huge problem, not winning the war, but actually sustaining the already existing linings.
Well, there are a lot of countries on the Western side that are also afraid of getting too involved in the war against Russia. What do you tell them?
What does too involved mean? There has been no boots of American, European soldiers here fighting for Ukraine. All we had been asking is, please provide us munition. Unfortunately, for autocracies like Iran, like North Korea, like Russia, they don't need to debate whether we will be too involved or not. Iran had provided the drones that had been set in our civilian population a year ago, even more than a year ago. North Korea had just transferred a lot of the munition and a lot of the ballistic missiles. So what are we talking about? How much involved do you have to be? We're not asking to come fight for us. All we're asking is to support us with the munition and weapons.
How important are the German Taurus, the cruise missiles Taurus?
German cruise missiles are critical for us, because with those we can reach those ships in the Black Sea we cannot reach now, for example, because they move them out of the harbor. And we are doing an amazing job sometimes with the sea drones that we are producing ourselves. But unfortunately, having towers would be so helpful to sink their ships. And those ships are being used to launch the missiles, the cruise missiles, to Kyiv, to Lviv, and to other cities. It is also, Russia also has one of the biggest fleet, so that can be attacking later a NATO country, like one of the Baltic countries, for example. So this is critical. We had been very clear that the long range is very critical for us, because it means we can push them further.
Well, but that is precisely also the argument. Some German politicians say that you could, with Taurus, also reach Moscow.
We had never been using any of the equipment, any of the missiles, or anything provided to us from any of our foreign partners outside of Ukraine. We had been very clear. The president promised it. We had it wasn't a contract. It was basically a signed document saying that Ukraine is never using any foreign weapons outside of Ukraine. So if we wanted to hit Russia, we would be using something we have. But so far, all of the weapons had been used in Ukraine. All of the defense attaches and all of the military personnel that are there in the embassies, they are aware where it is being used, how accurate it is being used, and we had never had a question to us.
What are you planning to do if Donald Trump wins the elections in the United States?
We will have to work with Donald Trump and his administration. Unfortunately, Ukraine is not a part of the United States. We cannot influence the elections, whether it's Trump or Biden, but we will be working with any administration because our life, unfortunately, again, is dependent on that.
And what if they don't support you anymore? If a Trump administration doesn't support you anymore?
Well, I do hope that the majority of American people still support Ukraine. And if you look at the numbers of support, even among the Republican Party, 60% of people think that Ukraine should be supported on the same level or even more. So when your voters are telling you we should support Ukraine, you will probably do that if you want to be re-elected. The second thing, well, Trump never said Ukraine should not be supported. He is saying, well, maybe we should give Ukraine support, but it should be a loan, not a direct support. So he was the one who provided us with the first weapons, like javelins, was the first offensive weapon. So hopefully institutions and the United States as a partner who had been granting us support when we gave up our nukes will not give up, because we're fighting for democracy, and that's what the United States is about.
What, or the ones who are blocking right now that aid package for Ukraine in the United States are the Republicans. Do you have a message for them?
There's only one clear message. If Ukraine goes down, any NATO country is next. And it's going to be a big war in Europe. And there is no way the United States would be staying aside. Unfortunately, we've seen already the same scenario in 1938, 1939, when people thought, well, this is somewhere in Europe, when Hitler was invading Poland, when he was invading the USSR and other countries. In 1938, when Churchill was trying to negotiate him, everybody thought it's somebody else's war. Well, unfortunately, when you think this, it always comes to you. It came with the Pearl Harbor. It came with bombing bombing London and other cities. So unfortunately, they have to realize that you cannot step aside. This is not only a war. This is not a local conflict. This is a war of autocracies versus democracies, because Ukraine had united a democratic world around us, while Russia is being supported by Iran and North Korea. And if they win, this will be a clear sign for China that, hey guys, we can do whatever you want. And that will be a big problem for the United States.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.